Hey guys, welcome back to Rachel's Rocks Canada. I wish I had some kind of theme song to sing to you every time you came on my channel. I should make one. So what we're doing is we're making the cutest little shoes today. If you're lucky enough to find two rocks that are similar shape and size, paint them white so that we can start with a nice bright canvas to work with. My rocks are really dark. So yeah, I'm doing a couple coats of white paint over top just to let them dry, and then I have a nice bright surface to start with because I've chosen red to work with today. You've probably seen the thumbnail to this video and you know how the colors look, and that is probably due to using it background with white to start off with, because it just helps. It's like primer. I just use acrylic paint. I don't use anything special, just acrylic paint. So what I've done is I've done 2 coats of white. It's dry. Now I'm using a ruler and a pencil to get the very front part of my shoe straightened off, because that part's just going to stay white. If you've seen little Converse shoes, you know what I'm going for. You know what kind of look I'm going for here. I've done these shoes a couple of times. When I first started rock painting, I thought they were the cutest things in the world, and I gave them away as gifts to some people, and they were well received, and yeah, definitely went really well at art shows and stuff like that too. So you guys are going to love these. They're awesome for baby showers. You can give them as a gift. If you know the sex of the baby, you can definitely make them up a color of their choice or whatever and surprise them. But yeah, they're super cute. Put them on a little shelf in a little boy's room or a little girl's room. You can add sparkle to them. These ones are just going to be red, and they're going to look really cute, even though they're just, you know, red Converse type shoes. So you'll love them. You will love them. Also, if you can't find 2 rocks that are the same size and shape, you can definitely visit the Happy Dotting Company on Etsy and get some of their molds and make your own stones. The small circular molds would be awesome for some of these, because they're just the cutest little shoes. So they would be good for that. So if you do not have real stones or the option, or can't find 2 of the same size, just know there are other options out there for you. You can also use my discount code at the Happy Dotting Company, Rachel's Rocks Canada, and you can get 10% off if you spend $10 or more. So you can see I've painted on my first layer using a paintbrush, but I am going to go in with a sponge because I don't like those paint lines everywhere. And I want this to have almost a soft look to them, like what shoes look like, kind of like a texture that looks soft. So I'm going in with a dry sponge, and I'm going to sponge out all of the brush strokes and then let it dry, and I'm going to do another coat just to make sure that none of that white paint is showing through. Now, you don't have to use red. You can use whatever color you want. I will be doing another color to show you at the end of the video. But I will also be doing a couple of pairs possibly that have a little bit more pizzazz to them. So they might be glittery. So stay tuned. I will probably share that with you all. So now that I have 2 coats, I'm going to outline everything. You might see some pencil there that I don't follow with my black paint, and that's because I plan on getting rid of it. So I wasn't happy with what I did in some spots, but we won't see that afterwards. Don't you worry. So I know this looks very strange. It doesn't really look like a shoe, but I promise by the time we're done this, it's going to look like the cutest little pair of shoes you've ever seen. So I'm just going to show you what I'm doing with one shoe. I'm not going to really show you it all on both because they're both exactly the same. Or at least very similar, because nothing's perfect. So you'll see that these don't end up being a perfect pair of shoes, but they're adorable and you'll fall in love with them. If you want to use glitter, you can always just put glue where all the color is and then dump glitter onto it. Let it dry and then get rid of all the excess glitter, and there you have a glittering pair of shoes. Super easy. But you can see they're looking similar, but not exact. Not exact. And I'm going to have to go over the white paint a couple of times so that you can't see through that at all. Because sometimes with white paint on a dark stone, you need a couple of layers, because then when you seal it, you can see the dark stone popping through, trying to say hi. So now what I'm doing is I am going to go in with berry wine, and I'm going to darken some of the edges of the red. We're going to go back in with the bright red again afterwards to smooth out the transition between the two colors. But I really want to kind of make it look like the shoe is worn a little bit. And I'm just kind of darkening some of the edges and up around the tongue area. And then I'll go back in with Christmas red and lighten it and transition it. That's the best way for me to explain, is I soften the transition between the two colors using the two colors. So I go back and forth with two different sponges. Don't ever use the same sponge on different colors, because that just makes a mess of things. But yeah, I'm just going in and smoothing that darker area with the brighter red so that it's not so bold, and it just kind of looks highlighted in some spots, I guess you can say. But yeah, we're going to work with that, and we're going to shade some more. We're going to add a little bit of black, and then we're going to add a little bit more berry wine. But I'm basically just blending it in so that it looks a little bit worn, a little bit shaded, and a lot cute. So that's all I can tell you. So I will be going back and forth with my sponge and my paintbrush and my blending brush just to get the effect that I'm looking for. But I kind of want to just darken it. These aren't brand new shoes. They're a little bit tattered. So there's going to be some darkness in certain areas and some shading in certain areas. And then I'm just going to outline it like I'm doing now. So you will understand as we go along. Back in with a blender, with a blending sponge, and then a paintbrush. And I am going to darken it quite a lot along the edges of the tongue. And then I will go back in with berry wine and blend that out until there's a nice smooth transition between the black and the red as well. There's a whole lot of blending going on. So if you are not familiar with some of my tutorials where I do a lot of blending and highlighting in certain areas and lightening certain areas, then you probably won't like this one very much because there's a lot of blending going on. But it's worth it. It makes them look just a little bit realistic, even though they're on stones. But they make them look just realistic enough. They pass for little shoes. So it helps. The shading really helps. Because, of course, these aren't realistic, once again. But they look so cute when we're done. And you can make them really super small and have them as like little fairy shoes and sit them in a plant. And of course do whatever kind of shoes you want. I will have another shoe tutorial coming out as well. So I'm not sure when it's going to be uploaded, but there's one more coming for you. So now I've mixed a little bit of yellow in with my, it's called Pure Pumpkin Orange. And I just mixed a little bit of yellow into it to lighten it a little bit. And then I've sponged it on in the area where your foot slips into the shoe. So I'm going to need a couple of coats of that because most of the time you can kind of see through orange and yellow paint really easily. So I'm going to let that dry and do a couple of coats using a sponge. Once again, it just seems to be better coverage when you use a sponge. And if you have found that sponges have made your life a little bit easier, I'd love to hear about that as well. I've had a few comments and messages from you saying, oh my gosh, it saved my life. It's changed the way I paint. You know, that's all I care about. If I'm giving you tips and tips and tricks that make your life easier while creating, then that's what my goal is here. So that's what I want you to know. So now I've just outlined my black again, cleaned it up a little bit. If you blend, you're going to have to go back over and clean it up. That's the usual. So now I'm adding a fine line of white. Now we can fix it if it's too thick in certain areas. We can go back over it with the dark berry wine. That's what I like about this, is I can just go back and thin things out in certain areas, and it doesn't change the look of the entire painting. So I am outlining that all, but I want to keep it on the inner edge of the red, on the deep red there. So I don't want to completely cover the edge of red. I still want to see red, and I still want to see that black outline that we did. So keep it in just a little bit, and then we're going to add some stitches along the edge of that line in a little bit. Don't forget the tongue, of course. You got to fill that in with red too. And I'm going to be doing some little stitches on the top of the tongue, which I will try and zoom in a little bit to show you what I'm doing. I'm just using my white paint and my fine lining brush. Make sure you don't have too much paint on there. If you need to water it down just a little bit, add a little bit of water to your white so that you can make finer lines a little bit easier. But if you water it down too much, it ends up having a mind of its own and traveling and connecting to other lines. And yeah, so don't add too much water. That's just a little tip. So I'm just making all of these. It's okay if they're not all the same length, because we can actually shorten them all to the same length by adding some berry wine as well. And I'll show you that too. I'm outlining it to make sure that there's still that outline of black. I went too close to the edge in some areas, so I'm fixing that. Looking good, looking cute. Now I'm going to do some little white stitches, and it's the same thing that I showed you with the stitches around the tongue. If it's easier to water it down so that you have really tiny stitches, that's up to you. But you can always fix the size of your stitches using the berry wine, because I've made a couple of stitches there a little thick. So I will be fixing those with the dark red, the berry wine color, very soon. Once the white is dry, then I can just bloop, fix those up, and they don't look so terrible, because you can really notice some of the thicker stitches. Now we need a little tag here on the front of our tongue. You can go all out and do extra shading and wrinkles in the tongue and dirt scuffs on the front of the shoe. It's completely up to you where this takes you. I'm just giving you some inspiration. So don't forget to show me, send me pictures on Facebook. Send me pictures to rachelsrockscanada@gmail.com. I'd love to see what you've come up with, what colors you've chosen. Let me know in the comments if you want to put glitter on yours and gold, maybe. Fancy them up a little bit. I'd love to hear all about it. So that tag, I am going to do the same thing. I sketched it on with my paintbrush, but I'm going to sponge it out to get rid of all the paint lines. And then I'm going to add some lettering to it once I've done a couple of coats of white there. I don't want to see any red through it, so of course I am going to have to get my sponge out and go over that a couple of times. But you will see, it's going to look amazing. Now, this kind of stitching I've noticed on different shoes like this as well. I'm not really sure where I'm going to place it yet, but I will figure it out as I go along. I do 2 separate rows of stitching for this one. Now this shoe's a little bit wonky from the other one, but that's okay because these don't have to be perfect. Like I said, they've been worn. They're not brand new shoes. They've been worn a little bit. They've been loved by someone. And yeah, so there's nothing perfect about them at all. So all the stitches don't have to be the same size. They don't have to be all going in the same exact direction. Just try to do 2 lines of stitches along the sides there. It starts to look really cute when we start doing like the little lace holes and stuff like that. Just adorable. What do you guys think of it so far? Now the black in where the tongue is really bold right now, so I'm going to soften that out with the berry wine color and a sponge until I'm happy with it. But you'll see the changes as we go along. Now I've sponged out the white tag part where we're going to write in there. And I've got to let that dry before I get any black paint on that. So now here's the eyelets. We're going to start off with black. Then we're going to use silver once those black ones are dry. This is the easiest way. I know how to do eyelets on shoes, but it does take some drying time patience, which you guys already know. I don't have a lot of that. I don't like waiting. I just want them to be dry so I can play with them and paint more. And yeah, they are really starting to look like cute little shoes right now. 2 little breathing eyelets. I find those help the feet breathe a little bit, let some cool air through the sides. And I did that on both sides, by the way. Now I am creating 2 shoes at once. So you can't see the other shoe, but it is being built. It's being created. So now that the black is dry, I'm going right over top of that with Silver Morning, which is the same brand as my gold, my spun gold, only it's silver. And you guys don't see me using it very much, but this time I'm using silver. You can definitely use gold if you want to. Now, once those are dry, I'm going to be going back in with black again so that they look like little eyelets. And you'll see that change. They look so cute though. Now I am going to outline around my tag. I've also used a little bit of berry wine to go underneath all the white stitches around the tongue. And I just did like a 1 swipe across them all so that they're all the same length. Now instead of it saying All Star, like you see on Converse shoes, we're going to put Rock Star. So I'm going to do rock and then do a little star in the middle of them and then put star on the other side. And that's just the way I'm doing it. You can put whatever you want on the tag. Get as creative as you want. Not a perfect star either, but close enough. It's not easy writing this small on a tag. You know what I mean? It still looks cute though. Just make sure you outline everything so that it all stands out properly. And if we blend, it does end up needing to be cleaned up a little bit. So I'm also putting an R in where the sole is and in where you slide your foot in, because that's just going to say rock star as well. That's what it says. You can't see the whole word, but that's what it says, I promise. So now the silver's dry. So I'm adding another black dot just so you still want to see the black, silver, black. You want to see all 3 circles that you've put on there. But now it looks like little eyelets. Isn't that adorable? It just really makes the shoe look like a shoe. I just absolutely fall in love with them every single time. When I sometimes add like a little white blip to the eye of one of my animals, that's when I bring it alive. You might have seen it in some of my other videos. But for me, the shoes, it's the eyelets. As soon as those eyelets are done, I see shoes, like all the way. Let me know what you think. Make sure they're dry before you start lacing them. I always save laces for last. Just let everything dry really, really good, especially the eyelets, because it is like big blobs of paint on top of blobs of paint. So it might take a little bit longer for those to dry. You don't want them to smear across your shoe or turn your laces black. So yeah, let your laces wait till last and wait till everything's dry. And I'm just trying to stick with like a nice thin shoelace. And if you need to take a look at a shoe that's been laced up in order to see how to do them, if that's what's easier for you, by all means, go for it. You can watch me, but I might not be doing it right. I'm just doing whatever I feel like doing. Don't criticize. You know that it's going to look cute when we're done, right? That's why you clicked on the thumbnail, because you said, "Aw, aw, these are so cute." I love them. And the shoelaces, they just bring it all together. And I'm trying to make sure that they're thick enough, but they're not too thick. They have to be able to fit through those eyelets that I put on there. And I will be, once these laces are dry, the white portion of them, I have to let them dry, and then I'll be outlining them, because it really helps them stand out off of the shoe portion as well. So you can wait and see what you think of it without it being outlined in black. And then once I have outlined it with black, and let me know. Let me know what you decide to do. You can thin them out and thicken them where you need to, and adjust them and fix them with the black paint. So that's what I like about it. But always wait for the white to be dry before you start messing with it. Aren't these the cutest? I bet you there's going to be a lot of cute little shoes all over the place very, very soon. And I'm very, very excited about that. There they are together. Can I make them dance? They're so cute. Just adorable. So I am going to outline the laces, but I'm also going to paint the bottoms black. Because I don't really show you what I do at the bottoms of my stones very often. But with these ones, it's pretty easy. I just paint them black on the bottom. And then once the black is dry, I put my initials on the bottom of the shoes and seal it with glossy paint sealer or Duraclear or something like that. And yeah, I don't want to upset anyone by not resining these, but I like to leave them matte. So I won't be resining these ones today, but I'll make up for it with other ones that I do resin. Promise. So here I'm just making sure everything's outlined. The laces that are coming under need to look like they're coming under. So you have to make sure you put your black lines in all the right spots. Once again, take a look at a pair of shoes that have been laced up, or pause mine once mine's done, or take a screenshot of it. There will be pictures of it on Facebook and on Instagram. So if you need to like just take a look at a picture to see which way I've done this, where I put my black lines, what lace has overlapped the other lace, just take a look at a picture, and that should help guide you a little bit. So I'm thinning out any that are too thick, or else, vice versa. Any that are too thin, I'm making sure that they're a little more sturdy. And they're open. Someone slipped them off, and they're open and untied. So once we tighten those up, those laces on the two edges there, they're going to get a lot longer, right? So you can do your laces as long as you want. You can drag them so that one lace is right over the front of the shoe. Get as creative as you want with it. It's all up to you guys now. I'm passing it over to you. Look at my nails need to be done. I am so in need of some self-care. Now, this is how I'm doing the bottom, literally taking a nice little brush and just covering it up. Trying to make my outer edges as smooth as possible, not all choppy. And then, yeah, it's just the bottom of a shoe. Gotta let it dry and then put my signature on the bottom. Pretty easy. Smooth it out. Like I said, make sure it's not choppy. And then let it dry. And like I said, you can resin these shoes. That's not something that isn't allowed by all means. You know how I feel about resin and rocks. So if you want to resin that, definitely do so. For these, I am just leaving them matte because I like the way they look. Don't they look beautiful? They are the cutest shoes in the world. Rock stars. And this is what I've used to do the top portion, which is the red part. I just used a sponge to put matte all over it. And then for the white part at the front, it's a little bit plasticky and a little bit shiny on the front of those Converse shoes. So I'm actually adding glossy stuff to the front. So there's a little bit of glossy, a little bit of matte, and they're the cutest in the world. When they're dry, they just look so cute. Let me know what you guys think. I love hearing what you guys think of these and new ideas that you can come up with after I've shown you this. So it's always fun to hear what you guys got going on. So here they are, cute little red rock stars. Hope you guys love them. I'm going to show you because you know what my favorite color is. If you've been following my channel for any length of time, you know I like purple. So I had to make some purple ones too. These are going into my Etsy shop. I hope you guys love them and I hope you guys have fun with it. Don't forget to send me pictures and I love you. Thanks to the over 45,000 subscribers. You guys are my life. Thank you and I love you. Mwah.